Boom, boom, boom. Here we are again. It's Tuesday. Boy, we're cruising through May. It's
another Nudelberg daily huddle, mid-May. Let's go.
Just craziness, guys. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Lots of fun stuff going on in the world. Tonight, the Florida Panthers get to play Carolina for a chance to go, what?
Thursday.
Thank you to ESPN.
Thursday night.
Oh, I thought it started tonight.
No, sir.
No, you got the Heat tomorrow night and then the Panthers Thursday night. And thank you to TNT and ESPN for working that out for all of the South Florida fans so that you will not have to go back and forth between games. You can devote every night of your week to one of the conference championship games.
Well, the only thing I can tell you is I'm a little dizzy because Jake kicked my ass this morning.
Jake's on it.
He's like, I said, what's the matter with you? Are you mad at me or something?
Oh, he got me too yesterday, boy.
Jesus, crazy, crazy, crazy. So we are back today. Thank you for joining us again, Lori. I know you're busy. Shout out and congratulations to you and your team. I think adding the South Florida Symphony to the BizTown is one of the most innovative, cool things to introduce kids to. I am blown away by how cool that is.
Yeah. We have about, I'm thrilled. I mean, to introduce kids to music and careers in music, right, and the arts. But we have about 5 new stores: Amazon, Aetna, CVS. So there's about 5 or 6 brand new storefronts coming to JA. There's only 2 left. 2 available for sponsorship. So
excited.
We're so close to being sold out.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the team. I'm excited for all the things that came out of the retreat. Mark, you got a fun day planned today?
Yeah, we're going to head up to FAU. We're going to spend some time with the RJ and crew to get to talk to them, do a little bit of a lunch and learn. I'm going to get to meet with Coach Herman. Just good stuff. Get around some ball coaches and spend some time hanging out, and then also get to work with their business development team that's responsible for all of the sports properties and talk a little bit of modern biz dev. So it's gonna be awesome. Excited to be
FAU today, Atlanta tomorrow, Indy last week.
TED Talk on Saturdays. Busy. A lot happening.
Bang. So lots of fun stuff. Lots of fun stuff going on. So I want to pre-sell tomorrow. You won't be here, but Lori and I are going deep on like this whole thing about the opposite side of when you hire good. What happens when you hire bad? You know, so we'll get deep into that strategy. What a great conversation for us to have. And then on Thursday, we will talk about the movie Air. And I got to tell you, dude, I loved it. I didn't like it. I was fucking riveted to my seat. Ellen was like, do you want to stop and take notes? Because I was just like,
I was taking notes.
Speaking of riveted to the seat, also you watched Secession last night, I'm assuming.
Oh, fantastic.
The Secession episode. At one point of the episode, I literally was sitting on the edge of the couch like, oh my God, I can't believe what's going on.
So I watched that with Jake, and Jake was like, so this is what they call tension.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I said to him this morning, I go, what an enjoyable evening of entertainment. I thought Air was done fantastic. Kudos to Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. They just do great. The cast was great. The story is the story, but they had never had a shoe that sold more than $3 million. And in the first year, Air Jordans did
162 million. Unreal. I mean, we'll talk all about it on Thursday. There's so many great lessons and takeaways from that.
So it's a great movie
this morning, right?
It's a great movie. Today is National Classic Movie Day. So let's wake this thing up. We'll come back and tell me if you think Air was a classic.
Wake up, everybody.
So I think Air lit people up. We'll be back on Thursday to dissect that. I've already started writing down my leadership lesson.
For sure, an instant classic. For sure,
So it's an instant classic. So today is National Classic Movie Day. What do we consider a classic movie? Many critics define a classic movie as any movie that is memorable or makes an impact on society. A true classic impacts pop culture, influences society, and remains a part of our lives. So there's a shit ton of movies that
Well,
have
so
done.
I think, I don't think they didn't say it specifically, but it's got to last the test of time, right? Like,
Top Gun is as good 40 years later as it was when I saw it. So
1,000%. Yeah. And so, Nick Mao, I would say, yeah, you need to watch Air before Thursday. Otherwise, there's going to be a ton of spoiler alerts in the show for Air. So you got to watch it, which I think that's an instant classic. I think that movie will stand the test of time because of the principles and lessons that got taught in it. I watched another movie that I think is a classic.
Shawshank goes way in the top.
Shawshank is an all-time classic. I watched American Gangster this weekend.
Wow.
And American Gangster is just, it's so long that it's like Scarface, where you got to really dedicate a whole session to it. But it's one of those movies that the same thing. The lessons, the acting, the entire movie is so good that it doesn't matter when it was made or what time it was set in. It's an all-time classic.
Major League.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I'm chuckling because when you ask guys what their classic movies are, right? You hear the ones you guys were listing. Then you have Kitty. Right away, what came to my head was Titanic, Gone with the Wind, Wonderful Life. Like, there's such a big gender.
No, I agree. Wonderful Life goes into all-time classic.
The Goonies.
The Goonies. Melissa Graves says The Goonies. I think
Godfather,
obviously.
Godfather had to be in there. Yeah.
So
Tombstone. Melissa Graves with Tombstone. All-time classic.
I'll be a Huckleberry.
Yeah.
I mean, and what about the one with Kevin Costner and the baseball, Field of Dreams?
Field of Dreams. I mean,
that's
Shay
a classic
said Major
to
League,
me.
which is an all-time great, funny classic.
Fuck
movie.
you, Joe Boo.
Yeah, I do it myself.
Karina has Sandlot, which is a
Sandlot
great,
was classic.
great flick. Okay, so in 1939, there were 6 movies that are still considered. They were released in 1939. They're still considered classic. The Wizard of Oz, no arguments. Still great today. Gone with the Wind, and frankly, I don't give a damn. Of Mice and Men, Little Princess, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and Wuthering Heights. So all of those were, look at Christine. Cool Hand Luke.
Another all-time, doesn't matter.
Is a failure to communicate.
Yes.
So here's the thing. Of all of these movies, they have iconic sayings that you can pull out.
Lessons.
Well,
timeless lessons.
Timeless
lessons.
For sure. But you can quote a line like, what's the famous line from The Godfather?
Well, there's 7,000.
So many.
There's one. There is one very
I'll make you an offer. Wait, what?
I'll make you an offer you can't
refuse. That's what I think.
The standard,
Never let anybody outside the family know what you're thinking.
I love that one.
That to me was like
there's so many in that one.
So I pulled some contemporary ones so that we can think about Godfather for sure. My favorite movie of all time, best movie I've ever seen, On the Waterfront, which was just, Marlon Brando.
I could have been somebody. That scene in the car is maybe one of the top 5 acting scenes of all times, right? Like that conversation and what happened there was so good.
Oh, and the music when he was looking at me, he goes, "Come on, Charlie."
Right.
That night I could have taken Wilson apart.
Right.
Incredible. Where do you put Forrest Gump?
Way up there.
It's
an all-timer.
Way up there. Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I mean, and especially because like you take into account the film's style, right? Like a Quentin Tarantino movie is almost in its own category. But like, Remember the Titans needs to go in there for me.
Yes.
Like Remember the Titans is an all-time. Like you talk about Sandlot and Disney movies. Remember the Titans maybe
that was like a middle school, high school, like substitute teacher. I remember Titans.
Yes, right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that there's a day to celebrate classic movies. It is so enjoyable. Like, movies teach us, movies entertain us.
Scott Barber says Rudy. Like, I remember being 13 years old. I think I watched Rudy every day for an entire summer. Like, I was watching it before I was going to practice.
Listen, Katari, I don't want to be Mr. Pink.
Right. Reservoir Dogs. Classic.
Oh, unbelievable. And so
to keep in mind, Casino.
Yeah. I mean, you could go down the
Well,
Scorsese movies.
Henry basically popped out of Casino. He
Right.
is one of the characters. So really fun stuff. You know, when people say to me, you know, I have a hard time opening up a conversation. Talked about that yesterday in my social media post, like, hey, just jump into a conversation with somebody. Just ask somebody what their favorite movie is. You can tell a lot about a person. You know, the minute they say anything in a genre that you can match with, oh my God, yeah, I love that one. And how about this one? And so just awesome topic, awesome fun stuff. Thanks for the participation. Shame on me. I wanted to start the show with a shout out to Jonathan Aarons, who is now a partner at his firm. So congratulations to him and all of the fine work that he's doing. Shay, give me motivational music, and then we're going into this conversation that Lori started about personal development.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, yeah. We chased our pleasures here, dug our treasures there. Can you still recall the time we cried? Break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side.
So
Great.
Go Knowles, by the way. Go Knowles.
go Knowles, right? Yeah, that's where he took his pants off.
Whatever. He went to Florida State. So, like, go Knowles.
He got arrested for walking around naked on stage.
Look, you can claim Tom Petty. I get to claim the Doors. It's the way it works.
So the reason why I picked that song is those who know, and Lori is in the know, are looking for a breakthrough. That happens to be my word for the year. It's breakthrough. I want to go over and above. I want to do more. So Lori, take the microphone, take the lead here on that post. Shay, show it again if you would.
Great.
Yeah, so I just shared a little bit about as I was coming up, right, in my career, you know, there was not a lot of attention on leadership development. There was no coaching. There was no, right, courses and workshops. And yeah, there were a few, right, of, you know, the big one was Dale Carnegie, right, and things like that, right, how to influence people. I mean, those were the things. And they were on cassette tape. Right. I was laughing about that because there's no podcast. There was none of that. So you know, I listened to them in the car. I had a cassette player at home and I read. So I found mentors, right? My parents, of course, were mentors to me, both being in business and education. So there was no formal leadership development programs that were really being offered by most of, and I work for a $2 billion company. So, and so and it was interesting as I was thinking about today and the people are, and I don't even want to say it's younger people. I just want to say our team, our employees today, everyone is, you know, I want to grow. I want leadership development. I want coaching. I want this. I want that. And they want the company to provide all these things, right? My thing as a leader is, what are you doing? Right. I got to see you investing in you before I'm going to go out and spend tens of thousands of dollars, because that is what it costs to put together a leadership development course. And so I find it interesting. You know, I'll give you an example. We did a book club a couple of years ago. We did 3 books. We have one guy on the team who just is dying to be promoted. And his answer about the book club was, you know what? I don't really read that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, you want to go to the next level. It's not about, and this is what I wrote in my LinkedIn post. It's not about the tasks in a job description that makes you the leader. It's all of those other skills. It's the ability to motivate. So in my opinion, my piece of advice, I don't really give advice, but my wisdom is, right? And my suggestion is, make sure you're doing whatever you can to develop yourself, investing in yourself. And by the way, a lot of this stuff is free, okay? Or $10 to download a book, okay? And then working with your company to drive opportunities before you start asking your company to invest a whole lot of money.
I go back to my favorite saying, which is your actions speak so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying. You could tell me till you're blue in the face that you want to be the best, you want to be in shape, you want to be promoted, you could tell me whatever it is that you say you want. Show me what you're doing to put yourself in position to do that. Like you talked about how there was no roadmap for leadership development, or where you were, I was in a business that was the major skill, was to be a coach. You should have to know how to lead. And there was no training for that. The way you came up through the business was through tasks. What were you willing to do? Were you willing to drive people to the airport at 4:00 in the morning? Were you willing to stay in the office until 2 a.m.? What were you willing to do, and how hard were you willing to devote yourself to it in order to get into a position that you could then lead people? And then you still weren't prepared for it because nobody really taught you how to do it. It was all through watching what everybody else did and me going, that works. That works. I like the way that looks. And trying other people's styles on for size and going, that doesn't really fit me. Or having somebody sit down with me and go, is that who you really want to be? Like, I'll never forget, I was mimicking Damian Craig to a T, right? I was losing my mind at practice. I was throwing my sunglasses because that's what Damian did. And Damian was the young coach on staff, and I wanted to be like Damian. And I'll never forget Eddie Grant looking at me at the end of a practice and going, watch yourself here. Is that really who you want to be? I can't answer that for you, but is that who you want to be? And I had to then evaluate, like, no, it's not. I'm trying to be something that I'm not. And that was huge for me, but that was my leadership development.
So Warren Buffett, who is by far the best known investor, says the number one thing you can invest in is yourself. Yourself. So Laura, you alluded to the tapes back then, Napoleon Hill, Zig Ziglar. I was one of those guys that said, if I buy these tapes, I can listen to them while I'm driving around. Right. And it worked. It was osmosis, man. I would just digest the shit. And to Mark's point, it was like, I could try that. His book, which I talked about it on the Huddle, I think last year, See You at the Top, Zig Ziglar's. Yep. The book is as good today as it was then, or better, because it's just basic shit, So So what's interesting in the way that I go about working with companies, most of my practice is individual. But when I get the opportunity to work with a team, I tell the leader, you should have people put skin in the game. If they don't have any skin in the game, the training is bullshit to them. They don't really pay attention. They're not invested in the learning. And so I've created, and I'm about to do a program where I suggested that people pay on their own. We created some metrics, and after a 90-day period, the company will reimburse them for the training. Then you have better people based on scorecards. So
I totally agree. When we did the book club, they said, "Oh, great, the company will buy the books," and I'm like, "No. The book is $14.99.
It's yours.
If they want to do the book club, we'll provide the snacks and the drinks and whatever." But they're going to buy the book. Now, I want you to know, And there were several of them that did participate, and it was great. I have given that book out to almost every new person that has started and said, when you're done with it, just give me some of your takeaways. I've not heard from one of them. And I guarantee you, maybe if one read it, maybe. Now, my point is, if you want us to invest in you, right? What are you doing to invest in you?
Right.
And I want to do two things, if you'll allow me. I just want to give two things. So one is why I think people aren't doing some of this, right? First of all, it's much easier to blame the company for not doing it because, right? It's easier to put the blame on somebody else, right? Number one. Some people feel like, well, maybe it's too late for me. I'm older. I'm in my career. Bull. Never too late, right? In my opinion. Some people are just procrastinating. Yeah, I'll start tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to read that book. They buy the book. They never do it, right? The procrastination. The other one is, we've all experienced this. I know everything. I don't need to read the book. I don't need to grow. I don't need any of that, right? I don't need to listen to YouTube. And then the fifth one, I guess I would say, is maybe they just don't have the confidence to think that they can actually grow if they do these things, or that they're not deserving or whatever, right? There's that insecurity.
Yep.
And I would tell you that those are just excuses.
So I have a question for both of you guys. Do you know how many hours it takes to become an expert at anything?
10,000.
10,000 hours to do. So when I do my presentations, like when I did my TED Talk, I asked people, I go, do you have a library? Do you own a library? And people are like, I don't own a library. What are you talking about? This phone thing is a library, man. You have access to unbelievable amount of information. So my take is people are fucking lazy. If you want to find the information, you could dedicate a certain amount of time every day to just opening the faucet and going, blah, 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 blah.
That's like,
And we'll go to overtime.
Yes.
You guys talking about the books and the tapes, there was such a huge barrier to entry to being able to share that kind of information at scale back then.
Right.
Because you had to have a publisher deal. You had to have somebody who was going to produce the cassettes for you and distribute it. It was much harder. That's why there was only a few. You could go into any social media platform, including YouTube, and you could just search best way to fill in the blank, right? And you're going to get hours and hours and hours of content that you can start to listen to go, that works. I like that. I want to try that. And you can choose to decide who the people are that you listen to, because like that to me is the biggest difference. Is anybody could be sharing that information now. Could be somebody like, I follow this guy, Dad Bod Steve on Instagram.
I saw him.
Right?
He's great. Yeah.
He's fantastic.
Right.
He keeps
very real. He's very real.
Keeps it super simple for people, right? He's not trying to get you to be, 350 pounds of muscle. He's not telling you that it's so complicated. He's keeping it very simple. He's keeping it very basic, and he's hitting you with daily information to help you lose your dad bod. And so, he's not Zig Ziglar. He doesn't have thousands of books. He's got an e-course that costs like $60 or something. He'll work with you individually if you want to invest in that. But the access is there. You have to be willing to, number one, do the work to find it. And then you got to be willing to get uncomfortable and try new shit.
See, Lori hit it on the head.
Everybody would rather just say, nah,
right.
I heard it and that's really great, but I'm not going to do it because it makes me uncomfortable. I don't really believe them, or all of the other excuses.
It's Lori hit it on the head. It's easier to blame. Right. It's just to say, oh, well, it's somebody else's fault, or they didn't break it down, or I couldn't understand it, or, the zillion excuses.
Yeah. And when, look, I read constantly. I listen to iPods. I mean, I've talked about them before. I love Mark Miller books. They, for me, are just so simple, right? That you walk away going, yeah, I want to do that, right? If that's going to make me, I could see how that's going to make me a great leader, right? And so it's not only about the reading and all of that, but it's also about putting it in practice. But I want to offer just a few suggestions, right, about how, because I think, for people who really do want to grow and you're tired of the 5 excuses that we talked about, right? First of all, define what you want, right? I know that I continually want to grow as a leader, right? I don't want to be the old leader that I was back then, or that people were back then. I want to find the right place, right? And the right balance of leadership for me. So I have defined what I want that to look like, right? What kind of person I want to be, all of those kinds of things. So my C word, right? Get clarity around what you want and what kind of leader you want to be. Develop mentors and relationships with people, right? That can help you grow. Ask them for help, right? So often we think I don't want to ask for help. No, ask for help. I am where I am today. I've got 5 or 7 coffees set up with CEOs of bigger companies than what we are, and that are corporate or whatever, because I want to continue to learn from them, right? So continue to find those mentors and help them, ask them for help and advice. Get involved. Pay for groups, pay for webinars, pay for whatever, books, whatever it is, invest in the resources, right? A little on the ball investment. Exactly. And get willing, right? Get out of your comfort zone. Because when you go to practice some of the things that you've read about, it's going to feel funny. It's not going to feel natural. So get out of your comfort zone, right?
We got to roll, Lori. We got to go. Great job.
And then don't wait.
We're way over time. Yeah, we got to go. I got
Don't wait. I love it.
Don't wait.
Great job. Great information.
Lori,
everybody who's looking to get better. There's no better place to do it than right here in the Huddle and right here with our GOTB community. So don't hesitate to reach out. Great stuff. I will not be here tomorrow. You guys hold it down. Have a great Huddle. I can't wait for Thursday to talk about air. Let's get down to business.
Awesome.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business.